like the rest of you, we're trying to make sense of this crazy thing that we call life. I'm RJ.
And I'm Khalil.
And welcome to Try Not to Overthink It. I'm a licensed professional counselor.
And I'm a licensed social worker.
Every day we find ourselves discussing many different topics ranging from trending news to the state of our society as a whole. You name it, we probably talked about it. And after many heated debates, we decided to share and expand our conversations and give them to you from both a therapist and a social worker's point of view and hopefully get your input. If this is your first time here, we want to thank you for checking us out. And we hope that you'll stay and become part of the tribe and participate in the conversations.
All right. So today we actually have a guest appearance today on the show. We're talking about relationships, and we decided to get the female perspective. We have a colleague and a friend, Chasmin Parker, ALC. She's been in the mental health field, specifically in crisis, for the last 3 years, and she's seen a lot, especially when it comes to relationships and some of the issues that people suffer with. She handles those calls. She does those therapy sessions. And we want her to give us some insight because, we talked about that in the last episode. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Chasmin Parker.
Hi, everyone. I am Chasmin. I am a ALC currently, almost done with LPC requirements. Basically, I've pretty much done a lot of things within 3 years. I've did crisis, crime practice. I have my own business currently, Parker Mental Wellness LLC, in addition to just content creation and things like that. My Instagram is Top Tier Therapist, and if on Facebook, it is C Parker Mental Wellness LLC. I do appreciate both of you all for having me on here and can't wait to get into the topics and dig deeper and just give you all the female perspective.
All right.
Okay. So today we're going to continue our conversation about relationships. So today, in today's society, I see that our relationships are more so transactional than what they used to be. Transactional from the standpoint of I love you or I'm with you as long as it's beneficial for me, instead of beneficial for we as in plural. When you're in a relationship with someone, there has to be a mindset of joining together and building and developing together, growing together. Instead, what I tend to see is that people are in relationships out of convenience. This is convenient for me for right now. The moment it stops being convenient for me, I'm out of here, which is where it seems that a lot of relationships, marriages, end in divorce. A lot of marriages or relationships end in infidelity, trust issues, toxic relationships. Somebody's in jail, somebody's dead. I mean, you see that a lot nowadays, where people don't even bother to get married anymore because there's just no point in it. Or if you do get married, you're quickly unmarried. And so I thought it was very important that we continue this conversation and get a female's perspective on it so that it's not just myself and Khalil talking about it and it's just two guys, but also to hear from a female's perspective. So the first topic we're going to talk about is intimacy and infidelity. So right, I think those are some of the main, very important things that cause a lot of marriages or relationships to fail. Because when you're in a relationship, I feel like it's a leap of faith. It's a leap of faith that I'm taking with my partner and my partner's taking with me, meaning that I can trust them wholeheartedly and fully to have my best interest at heart, to not take my time or take me for granted, and that they're going to understand and support me through all the changes that may occur. Rather that be mental changes, physical changes, emotional changes, they're with me truly and not just here for me today. And then when it's no longer convenient for them or no longer beneficial for them, they're gone tomorrow. What do you guys think about that?
Definitely, Chasmin. Of course, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. I just believe now, as you said, that relationships are transactional because a lot of times if you haven't defined clearly what you want in a relationship, it can easily go left field. Like you have to really be self-aware when it comes down to relationships and dating and actually deciding what you want. If not, you just out here wasting people's time. And as you said, making poor decision making when it comes to dating or even just in general, picking a person and utilizing them. And some people become collateral damage in the midst of everything, right, just because you haven't healed or you haven't really soul searched to figure out who you want, what you want, who you are, and all that.
Right. And intimacy, we talked about that a little earlier. Intimacy has a lot more into it than just spending alone time or making love to someone. Intimacy is getting to know your partner on a deeper level. But if I don't know who I am, right, and I'm only presenting one way to you, how are you going to get to know me, right? And I think that's the thing that messes with me is you meet people and they put on a front or persona, right? They start acting. That's not who you really are. Once I get to know you after a month or two into the relationship, I start to notice that you don't put your clothes up. When you come home from work, you throw things on the ground. You don't like washing dishes. You cuss more than I thought you did. You're not really feeling going to church every Sunday. So, of course, we have to present well. RJ trips me out because when I go back to the mental health time we spent at the mental health center, he said, we got a lot of clients that present well, meaning they pass the eye test. So you're like, oh man, people seem like they got it together. And the next thing you know, a week into it, non-medicated, or they start using a substance and you're like, oh, that's why they're here. And the same thing goes for a partner, right? When you get to see the ugly side of things after a month or two or three, and just like I know I'm one of those people, I always look for short-term solutions sometimes, right? Instead of the long-term game. Dating, being intentional about dating and really getting to know someone, that's the long-term game. Just to fulfill my needs and desires, I might go with someone and be like, I don't even care if they're a little reckless. Hey, it's okay. You know what I'm saying, Chaz? You know what I mean? You date somebody who's a little reckless and you're like, I thought they were a little reckless. They don't. Yeah, right. Like they don't pay the bills.
I mean, but that's just how we do things. It's just an impulse. Like,
right.
It's not you thinking in a moment. Like, and we have to think about like when we're in crisis and things like that, decision making is poor. Like,
poor.
You stressed out from work. It can you be dealing with things at home, and you over here just being reckless. Like impulse control. Like just nothing. Like. Over here having sex with everybody, over here talking to different people, as you said, using substances. And it does shift the perspective when you involve somebody else.
Right.
Like it really does. And you have to think about it and be mindful of who you're giving your time, what you're doing to the person. And as you said, being vigilant because everybody that looks good.
It's not always good.
As you always say, Khalil, a mean switch up game.
Yeah, mean switch up game. Transformers. That's what you call them.
They out here being Decepticons.
Yes.
So I mean, so when it comes down to it, I feel like like with being intimate with somebody, it as Khalil said, it's not just being physical with somebody. It's being tapped in and checking in with them in all ways that you can, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like when you're truly tapped in with your partner. You know when they're going through something. You sense it. You see changes. You start to feel changes. You start to be attuned to what they need before they even say anything. And that's what true intimacy is. I remember working with a young lady, and when she and I first started working together, we would all sit around and just be talking, me, her, and another coworker. And so she shared that her and her husband were trying to work through some problems. So I asked her what happened. So she's telling me that he had cheated, and so they're still currently working through those problems. They're no longer married now, but he had cheated, and so they were working through those problems. And so I asked her, what happened. So she explained that it started off where he was asking, hey, to be intimate. They're married, he's asking, hey, can we do a little something? And she's like, no, I'm not in the mood. Don't feel like it. And so he'd ask every day, and eventually he stopped asking. And so she said before she had realized it, 6 months had gone by and they had not been intimate with each other. And then, certain things started changing, he started doing things differently. And that's when she realized, that he was having an affair. And so not to make excuses for him or to justify the behavior. Well, like I explained to her, where you messed up at, right? Like when you're in a relationship, there's a conversation that has to occur in order to ensure that you're not taking your partner for granted. So if you didn't feel like it, there should have been a conversation with your partner to explain to him or her why you're not in the mood. Because if your partner is truly in tune with you, they'll understand versus you just shooing him away. Because I know for me, there's only so many times I'm going to ask for something before I stop asking for it. Right. And when I stop asking for it, you done lost me at that point. So that's essentially what happened. Was she took for granted that there's always going to be a tomorrow. There's always going to be a tomorrow, and that he'll understand without having that conversation with him. And so again, both people in the relationship have needs. She has needs, he has needs. So if, you know, I see that a lot of times infidelity stems from needs being unmet. If you're hungry, you're going to get up and go look for something to eat. If you're thirsty, you're going to get up and go look for something to drink. If you got to go to the bathroom, you're going to, unless you're just incontinent, you're going to get up and go use the bathroom. So if I'm not receiving something in this relationship, if I'm not being fed, if I'm not being watered, if I'm not being nurtured, I'm going to start looking for that outside of the relationship. But then when you incorporate things like the internet, the way that you can reach somebody from millions of miles away over a phone or Facebook or Instagram, people are much more accessible. So the ability to cheat is much higher there. And I mean, for me as a man, what I had to realize, you know, as I matured was that your body goes where your eyes lead it. So like when I'm in a relationship with somebody, I don't see other women. I don't entertain other women. I don't even, like, you could be flirting me, I don't even realize it. Because for me, my eyes ain't on you. And because my eyes aren't on you, there's nothing that you can do that's going to distract me from what I'm supposed to be focused on. Right. You know, and for a lot of us, we lose focus in what we're supposed to be doing. It's no different than you driving your car. There's a reason you're not supposed to be texting and driving, because you're driving a kinetic weapon, and there's a high possibility you being distracted by your phone. You take your eyes off the road, you done hit somebody or hit something. You can't drive your car looking in the rear view mirror. If you looking in the rear view mirror all the time up here, you're not paying attention to what's in front of you. And so for a lot of us, we get distracted by what's behind us, which is our past. There's a reason that's behind us. We're distracted by what's on the side of us because there's all these distractions that are on the side of you. You know, some new woman or some new guy, you distracted by what's over here. And instead of being focused on what's in front of us, which is our partner right now. And for a lot of us, we lose that sense of intimacy where I'm not truly valuing my partner, you know, and if I truly value my partner, the things that they need are a priority, just like the things that I need should be a priority to them. What do you guys think about that?
Definitely.
I believe that as far as women have to really be in touch with themselves, like emotionally, because a lot of times I hear when women say they cheat, it's the lack of somebody giving them attention or having an emotional connection. Like, oh, he's not paying me any attention, or, you know, he's not giving me what I want, or things like that. But men cheat out of reckless reason, or I'm not going to even say reckless, just impulsive cheating. As you said, RJ, a lot of times if you're not in tune with your partner, you already know where it's going to go.
I mean, so I disagree with the last part. Like for like, there have been times where I have done things that I should not have done. It wasn't reckless. It was very thoughtful. I thought about what I was doing.
That's what I was saying. I
knew what I was doing before I did it.
They knew what they're doing.
You know,
right.
You know, and so that's the thing is, like, for all of us, we get caught up in trying to blame somebody else. No, you got to take ownership. Part of being an adult and part of, you know, and growing and learning from situations is to take ownership in what you did and what you said. For me as a man, you know, I haven't had a whole lot of relationships, you know, but in the relationships that I have had, there have been parts that I have contributed to the downfall of that relationship. Rather that be I have a smart ass mouth. Rather that be I don't know.
That's his problem anyway. It don't matter, male, female. That's his problem anyway. That's his problem.
You make me mad. You getting it? So smart mouth, not always being receptive to what other people are telling me. not always being as attentive as I should be. Like I played a part in certain things, so I got to take ownership in that. And so like for us, we, in relationships, we got to say, yeah, I cheated. It's not okay, but I made a choice. It wasn't no accident where you slipped and fell on the person, and y'all just kept on falling on each other.
Listen, that's the part that we have to get to saying, like, but most people not there. They like, okay, well, I gotta dance around in a minute. I gotta get to it, go to therapy. And that's when you really just like, okay, well, this actually happened, and how do I move forward? And as adults, like you said, evolving and becoming more mature, you actually see you're a father. And understand you can't take that into the next situation or relationship you're in.
Right. Well, like what you said earlier, right, about, the young lady who was with her husband, right, and her not wanting to be physical with her husband for 6 months. And then she said, well, all of a sudden 6 months passed and that person started acting different. Well, when we talked about intimacy and what really plays a part in intimacy, right, that means getting to know your partner. If it took you 6 months to know that he was getting frustrated, how well do you actually know your partner? Or was the relationship just transactional because you're in the house, he's paying bills, you paying bills, and hey, as long as you keep paying bills, hey, I'm going to stay with you. As long as you keep doing this, and I'm going to stay with you. That's not intimacy. It's knowing someone on a deeper level and meeting their emotional, physical, helping them when there's mental issues. That's where intimacy comes when you're starting to know your partner. And Chaz, what you mentioned earlier, some men are reckless because they're thinking physically, or they're just looking with their eyes and they want to meet a need. Remember, I said that short-term, fix that we want sometimes, and that's not the long-term. Because really what's going on with most men, when I talk to men, especially men who cheat, the woman that they were with was not spending enough time with them to try to meet their needs, right? When we talk about that woman that you talked about earlier, RJ, I'm pretty sure there was some needs not being met on her side either. Because if you don't want to be intimate with your partner, there's something else going on with her that he wasn't meeting her needs. You get what I'm saying? There's always two parts to every story. So there was something he wasn't doing as well. I don't know if he wasn't trying to romance her. I don't know if he wasn't listening to her when she got off of work and giving her a listening ear or being supportive. Whatever it is, there's something that turned her off about opening her legs to him. So it's both parts that play, and men can be reckless. Women cheat, and look, even there's some women that are reckless, but most women are really, really good when they cheat about covering up their tracks. Men are just, we cheat, and damn, everybody in the neighborhood knew we had 2-3 girls come over to us, and it's like, man, you couldn't have played that a little better, got a hotel or something like that. You brought her in the house, Women are way smoother than men. That's what I've seen in my 44 years on this earth.
Well, I mean, so I feel like it boils down to not taking each other, not valuing each other, not taking each other seriously. So I mean, like in the example that I explained, had she just had a conversation with her husband, I feel like things would have gone a different direction, because ultimately they end up getting divorced for roughly the same reason. He cheated again. And then we end up having a falling out because she ended up posting this long diatribe on Facebook about how, he wasn't a good father, and this, that, and the third. And so like when they had their final falling out, I asked her point blank, hey, do you feel in your heart of hearts that this relationship cannot be salvaged? Are you completely done? Because if you're completely done emotionally, physically, spiritually, and and all physical possible ways, then hey, move on. But if not, then I always recommend going to counseling. She listening to the boo birds, and the boo birds, who don't have what you have, haven't done the things that you
don't have a man,
ain't going in the same direction as you. When they giving you advice, Get out of here,
baby daddy.
Get out of here. But she listened to the boo birds. And so by the time she finally got around to, realizing that what I was telling her was correct, he was like, go and do what you're going to do. You know, now he was open to reconciling initially and trying to figure things out, but waiting on her and, you know, the back and the forth with her. And, you know, he was just like, hey, go and do what you're going to do. And so then now you in your feelings. And so I told her when the situation first came about and she found out that he was unfaithful, keep your children out of it. Children need to stay in the children's place. Right. Adults need to be in adults' place. They should never mix and mingle. Because your children should never be in a position to where they got to pick a side or choose a side, and you're my father or you're my mother. Now you're my op. Like, it should never be that.
Yeah, that causes emotional issues.
And of course, you know, you would think people would listen to the guy with the glasses. No, nobody does. And so, you know, she put them in the middle of it, you know, by telling them what was going on. So of course, what did they do? You know, like I told her they picked a side. So they picked a side, which was her side. And so then he's just like, hey, because both her kids were college age at that point. He had done what a father was supposed to do, because he's not a dad. He was a father. He was physically there for his kids, raising them their entire lives. He provided for them. She worked because she wanted to, not because she had to. You know, and it wasn't until after she went back to school that she even decided, hey, I really want to kind of work because I really want to have some stuff, do some stuff. They go on vacations, cruises every year. She buys stuff, don't have to worry about the cost of stuff. But then now all of a sudden, because he's done with you guys, oh, he's not a good father. He's not worth 2 piles of beans. And so she posted this thing on Facebook, and I told her, hey, that's not okay. That's not okay, because what you're not going to do is you're not going to sit here and devalue this man who has been in his kids' lives, who was an active, productive partner in this marriage. Like, you can't take away all of his achievements because he did one thing. You can't do that. You know, were you provided for? Yes. Did he take care of his kids? Yes. Was he a part of his kids' lives? Yes. And I felt like you being in your feelings, you're trying to devalue this man. That's not okay, because you would feel some type of way he did it to you.
But that's the resentment, RJ. A lot of people, once you do something wrong to them, or hurt their feelings or betray their trust, once those things get opened up, man, resentment is real. And it's very hard for people to kind of turn back from that. You know what I'm saying? Once they're resentful, man, a host of other issues come in, because that causes a poison to the spirit. Because if I'm resentful towards you, that means that in some way I feel as if you've done me wrong and I'm not going to be satisfied until I repay you. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And Chaz, I know you've seen that in relationships. Come on.
In addition to, no one wants to disconnect from any relationship or marriage on good terms. Like, we haven't really been taught in our community what a healthy detachment look like in a marriage.
Right.
It's like we always got to be neck and neck, got to be at odds, or the person got to be the villain, or it's a victim in the relationship. With my situation, it was a mutual understanding. We both knew that we had outgrew each other, and that was it. It was like, when everybody asked, he's still a wonderful person. I hope he finds love and all that. Like, I mean, you just have to be mature about things, and most people can. Like, it's just like, I want to villainize this person so the next person won't want him, and they be miserable, I be miserable, and at the end of the day, y'all both still lonely by yourselves.
Right.
But I mean, it takes so much energy to be miserable and to be hateful and spiteful. Why do it? I mean, that just makes no sense to me. I don't want you to occupy any headspace, any space in my life. Once I'm done with you, I'm done. So short of anything that we have together, hey, go do you. You could go do whatever you want to do. It's not worth my time for you to take up space in here and in here, because I don't speak on things I don't care about. And if once I'm over a relationship, I wish you the best, because I don't wish bad or downfall on anybody. So I feel like I think that's where that comes from, healing. Like, something in that relationship broke us or hurt us. And so I didn't want to lash out, and I'm going to give that hurt back in return. And that's what I tell people. After a relationship, take some time for yourself. You know, like, for a lot of us, because we're not emotionally grounded and emotionally stable ourselves, we bring our drama, our chaos, our storm into the next relationship, into somebody else's stuff. And so, like, when you hear a lot of these guys, we'll call them guys, because I was about to use a different word, that talk about this alpha male stuff of don't date single moms, don't date this, don't do that, da 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 da. A lot of them, you know, when you pull out the fluff and the bravado and the preening and the other stuff that they're talking about, and you listen to what the core message of what they're saying, a lot of it is very true. You know, their whole thing of don't date single moms. I feel like, you know, as we've spoken on this before, if you are not in a position to where you can be mature and step in the right direction, then don't talk to this single mom. But also understand that this single mom may still be hurting. So as a man, before this goes any further than us just getting to know each other, we probably need to sit down in counseling, because there's probably some pain that she is still healing from, if she hasn't already gone to counseling herself and healed, that we need to work on this together. If I'm serious about you, I'll go with you to counseling. Because to me, if I'm serious about being with you and I'm serious about building, and I talked about that when the episode started, building and growing together, that means accepting you at your lowest, accepting you at your worst, accepting you when you look busted, you dusty, you ashy, you know, you got your headscarf or your bonnet on. Like, I accept you at that point.
Applauded. Like, but people, like you said, RJ, most people are not willing to put that investment in. Like you said, it's transactional. Like, I'm not investing in nothing that's not going to yield me anything. And that's what most people think. But like you said, if I'm highly interested, I'm willing to give that investment. And that's business terms. Like, an asset can be a liability.
No, it can't.
Well, look, like what you guys just said, investment. When we talk about financial terms, if I say an investment, it might not yield for a long-term play. You know, there's short-term plays and there's long-term plays when we talk about financial. So anytime I'm investing in a person, it might not pay out right now. It might be a long-term investment, and that person might actually be beneficial for you. And usually any person is usually an asset unless they're leeches, bloodsuckers. You know what I'm saying? And I know those people. They're all too well from my time living on the streets a little bit in my life. I was out on them streets. And if you meet someone who's not trying to bleed you dry, usually a human being, especially one of God's creatures, right? Usually they're going to be an asset to your life if they're feeling any bit of, love for you. Most people are going to be an asset. And we can't treat people as always, hey, you know, I'm only going to get what I can get from you. Then you're the leech. That's what I call a leech. You know, you're the bloodsucker.
You them attached to.
Yeah. So I mean, you spoke about it earlier about trust, and so like trust and honesty is very important in building any relationship. Without trust and honesty, what do you have? You just have two people just watching each other breathe. I mean, I had to recognize, like, as I got older, that my life dramatically improved and started to get better when I started to see people for who they were and what they've shown me, instead of some romanticized idea or fantasy of who they are. Like, I had to recognize that a person's going to reveal who they are. People who are really there for you are going to be there for you. People who you can trust are going to show you that they can be trustworthy. People who are supportive are going to show you that they're supportive. They don't have to tell you, I'm the most supportive person in the room. When someone is in charge, they don't tell you I'm the boss. They show you, or they give off that presence that they're the boss. And like, for a lot of us, like we talk about, and back to the whole alpha male thing of how they say in today's society, we're raising women into being men. That is very true. Women have started to have to do a lot of the roles that a man should be doing. Women are starting to have to be the provider. Women are starting to have to be the primary breadwinner. Women are having to be both mom and dad. And so when you are the type of woman where it's only ever been you, and all you've ever dealt with is bums or dudes that really ain't about nothing, when you finally come across a guy that is like doing all the things that a man is supposed to do, it becomes very difficult for you to recognize that because you're so used to something else. And so for us as men, like, we have to step our game up. and recognize that we have lost the ability to lead. Like, there is something that comes with the ability to lead where you earn that. That's not just given. Like, you have to show someone that they can trust you, that they can have faith and believe in you, that you're not going to lead me off a cliff. Because if I put my trust and my faith in you, I trust you in my life.
Right.
That's what a relationship is, especially if we're serious about each other. And with all the contagions and cooties out there, like if we laying up and we're, being intimate and we ain't using no protection, bruh, I'm trusting my life with you.
Exactly.
So if I'm trusting my life to you, I need to have faith that you are a person that I can wholeheartedly not have to stop and think, is this a good idea? Should I do that?
Right.
Like if I have to second guess you, I don't like, and that's something I had to learn the hard way. If I got to second guess you, then I don't need you in my life, because you're wasting my time at that point. You're wasting my time at that point. If I have to second guess what you're saying, if I have to second guess what you're doing, if I have to read a whole lot into things, hey, you lying. You automatically lying. I don't care if I can prove it or not. You automatically lying if I got to second guess you.
Right.
Like, and that's how it
was broken at that time too. You can't rebuild it.
We see right through the shit. Like, bruh, like, you can't lie. Like, and I think even when I wasn't a therapist, I was very in tune to things, like paying attention to my surroundings and behaviors. Like, if you saying one thing and doing the opposite, it's some incongruent behavior there.
Right.
Like,
right, incongruency.
I know that you're lying, as you said, RJ. Like, if you're saying you're one place and you're somewhere else, like, you know, basically already gave me the assumption that I know what you're doing. I don't need any explanation beyond that. And when you get older, you like, people don't have time to play games. Like,
right. Time, time is money by the time you get older.
I don't like. I just let you have it. Like, go ahead. I'm good, love. I'm good, love season. Do what you want to do. But for me in my house, we're not doing it. We're not playing games. This is not a client therapy relationship. So we're not chasing. If you're not trustworthy, why entertain it? And RJ, as you said, romanticizing everything. I think women get it in their head like, oh, this man is going to be my knight in shining armor.
Right.
And this is actuality versus adversity. Like, you're going to have issues, like, constant. Like, I mean, unless the person you're with fit and you're synchronized, it's going to be issues. But you can't just be like, girl, I'm done with that man. He over there doing this. He over there doing that. He cheating on me. Every 5 minutes, you done picked his Apple Watch up, getting a passcode on the man's phone. Bruh, like, you smelling his clothes, looking at the collar. Man, I done heard stories like, with lipstick on it, did he smell like perfume? They did a sniff test. Like, that's Tari. Like, you a PI at this point. You're a private investigator.
Right. You didn't change careers. You're a private investigator at this time. Well, any relationship that causes you that level of anxiety, stress, is toxic for you. And I'm not one of those people who run around calling everybody a narcissist. We talked about that in our little mini episode, because people don't even know what the definition of a narcissist is. It's a personality disorder. You can't go around diagnosing someone with a personality disorder if you don't have a accredited degree in that field. So people run around saying and throwing these words out, right? But technically, if you feel that person is bad for you, and you've assessed the situation and weighed the pros and cons, and you don't feel like your needs are being met, then you have to move on. I don't have to label anything. That person just might not fit you. It happens, but that's the reason why we're supposed to be really dating people before we just move in with them or hop in the bed with them, before we create these relationships with these unequal dynamics. I mean, especially if I know when I got with you, the reason why you like me so much is because I helped pay your bills, or I was there for your loved one or your children, or I met you at work and you were convenient. If that's the only reason why you want me, eventually, a little longer down the road, things are going to break apart, because we mature with the maturation process. We evolve. you might not meet my needs anymore. I might get 2 more degrees and I might be like, I'm Dr. Franklin now. And I don't really know if I'm going to stick with the Wendy's teller. You get what I'm saying? And not knocking anybody's profession, right? Because I've been there and done that. I worked construction for most of my 20s up to my early 30s. I get it. But when you're dealing with someone and the dynamics change in the relationship, you should have some sort of knowledge within yourself and about that other person if you want to continue this relationship. You shouldn't have to be cheating, ducking, dodging, all those other things that come with it. Then the relationship becomes toxic. So when we were talking about that, I don't want to jump out of the topic of honesty and trust, but I really want to get into dating for a purpose. And I know RJ, you talked about that last.
I mean, when you are dating someone is like a job interview. You are essentially attempting to fill a vacancy in your company. You as a person, your life is a company, the company of you. And so you are your sole proprietor, owner, CEO, whatever you want to call yourself of that company. You are attempting to fill the role of life partner, not cut buddy, not boo thing, not, cuffing buddy. You are attempting to fill the position of life partner. After you hit about, I say 25, 26, it's time to start realizing that your time is precious.
Yes.
That your time is precious. Women much more so than men. So, because of biological factors. So if you have certain goals, certain things that you hope to achieve as a young lady after like 25, 26, stop entertaining people who are who do not fit the role that you are trying to fill. The same way that I would interview somebody for a position that is vacant in the company that I work for or the company that I own. I do the same thing in any type of relationship that is a part of my life, rather that be personal, romantic, or business. If you don't fit that role, you can't hang out over here. The reason why is because you will bring mess, you'll bring drama, you'll bring issues that I don't already have in my life. And so for me, I believe in economy of energy because I'm lazy. And so because I'm lazy and I believe in economy of energy, I don't invest time and energy into things that don't improve my life, that don't add and multiply in my life. Because if they're not adding or multiplying in my life, they're dividing and subtracting from it. And so if it's not adding value to my life or multiplying things in my life, hey, guess what? You can't hang out over here. Why? Because if you were a good person, you'd be adding and multiplying in your own life. But what you'll do is you'll bring chaos and problems over here, because as we're going down the interview questions, things that are deal breakers for me, like not how do you worship? Do you go to church? Do you read your book of worship? How is your relationship with this? How's this going? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 15, 20 years? Do you want to have kids? These are things that I'm asking as we're going on dates instead of just, oh, you look good. Oh, I know I look good.
It's the long-term game. That's the long term.
Listen too. We got to do better with dating. Like you said, just not hopping in a bed, Netflix and chilling. If somebody say, I'm trying to come over your house, it's about to be a cut session. Like,
right. At 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. As a gentleman, I'm not going to any young lady's house after like 9 o'clock. I'm not. No. If it's dark outside, the best I can do is I can meet you outside the house. That's the best I can do. I mean, and the reason why is because I respect you enough to where I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm tempted. And I'm not trying to tempt you either, because again, I'm trying to develop and build something with you. If we're taking the time to go on dates, we're taking time to spend time together, we're taking time to get to know each other. I get to know the deep, dark parts of you. That's something that I truly value. And so again, if I'm trying to build something with you, I'm trying to develop and cultivate something with you, I got to take the time to work on those things with you. But then also not put myself in a situation where I know it's going to lead somewhere it shouldn't lead.
Right.
And for a lot of us, we don't do that. We're just like, man, I'm just trying to get to that right there. Not understanding that a relationship is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Right. People who've been married, like some of our elders have been married for 50, 60 years. How was that? How did that happen? That happened because there was purposively dating. You know, they sat down, they courted each other. That's an old antiquated term. They courted each other.
Look, you're not going to find anybody courting these days, RJ. The horse and buggy days are gone.
It's cuddle buddies. It's like it's the convenience factor because everything now is so instant gratification. Like, I'm going to oh, he fine, swipe left, swipe right. Like, you can go on Facebook, inbox booming. Like, when it comes down to that, like, my grandparents, I think, were married 50 something years, and she had 11 kids, and she always said that she honestly gave my grandfather all her time. It was no outside factors, like you said, RJ. It was only them and the family. Like, even today, my family is still close like that, just because of the cohesion they shared together. But
right.
now,
It trickled down. It trickled down when you do things the right way.
Now,
I mean, but when you're with someone, you're developing something like that, you have to block the distractions out. And that's where, like, for me, like I said, when I'm dating somebody or I'm in a monogamous relationship with someone, I don't entertain distractions. I don't see you. If we're in a relationship, if, you know, say hypothetically, you and I are in a relationship. If you can't go, I ain't going. Why? Because I ain't trying to have to explain this ain't what it looked like.
Right.
This has came up in female terms. If my husband get invited somewhere and I'm not invited, how does that work?
That doesn't work.
You gonna be like,
doesn't work.
And I'm not going without my husband either. Or even if my boyfriend and I were on longer term, like we're in a longer term relationship, the invitation would be extended just because that's out of courtesy.
Or
right.
I remember an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and one of the young ladies, this was years ago. She was married at the time. I can't remember what her name is, but she was married at the time, and they were out of town on a girls' trip, and they were about to go to a strip club. And she, you know, the other females gave her a hard time because she said, "Hey, I need to call my husband and get his permission first." And so they're, "Oh, you know, you ain't no child." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, she's right though. If your man doesn't respect you enough to value what you say and value your word, then hey, that ain't the dude for you. And dudes, if your woman doesn't value your opinion, because the thing about it though is, like, I was listening to something that Andrew Tate was saying, and he said something that was very true about that. He was talking about how, you know, girls have girls' nights out. And he was like, as a girl, you're expecting for me as the man to be a provider. So if you're expecting for me to be a provider, you need to tell me where you're at and what you're doing. Why? Because as a man, as a provider and a protector, my job as those things is to mitigate risk. I can't mitigate risk if I don't even know where you're at and what you're doing.
Right.
I can't enter.
It's out of respect, because if I love you that much, I'm going to be, hey, I'm going here. Like, it's nothing to hide. But
yeah,
I think
especially if you're not doing something you got no business doing.
Well, see, like you said, Chaz, nothing to hide. Right.
Nothing to hide means, in women term, is we going here and we're going to be here. And this is what's going to be. It's not me sneaking or having a sneaky link and going over here. Because I think sometimes that's what people utilize, the whole friend roles or girlfriends or hang.
Right.
It's a, like Khalil say, it's a switch up game. Like, let me go over here and explore this. And then, as you said, RJ, the Bluebirds, you got to affiliate yourself with people that's on the same level as you. All my friends are married. I think only 2 of them are not.
Right.
So, I mean, you
if
can't.
You're married, be around like-minded people.
Exactly. So I'm not around here with the baby mama friends or the friends that has no purpose or no intent of having careers, having enterprise, and doing these great things. I can't be involved in anything otherwise.
My dad calls them the bitter baby mama club. You know,
it's the truth.
He does. That's what he calls people. And I'm like, you know, but some people, not everybody's like that, but some people are like that, where it didn't end well for us. So I can't just be happy for you and let you win. For me, I don't care how much I dislike you, how much I don't get along with you. I want everybody to win. That's my character flaw, is I want everybody to win. And to my own detriment at times, I have helped people outdo me and get them roles or get them positions of elevation ahead of myself because I believe in other people winning. Because when other people win, that means we all win, you know? And so, but also in that standpoint, I've been blessed in certain ways because I put other people ahead of myself.
Exactly.
You know, and so, you know, that's why, like, again, when it comes to relationships, it's not about the me, it's about the we. You know, when we are dating someone, you get a sense of, you know, for someone, if they are, you know, we focused or me focused. And what I mean by we focused is, are they willing to sacrifice for the team? Are they willing to take an L for the team? Because sometimes you got to take that L to get that overall W, where everything can't be about me all the time. Where I've watched my stepmom at times get mad. Like, I can physically see she's upset with my dad, but in that moment she doesn't respond. Why? Because it was important. Whatever my dad was saying was important enough for him to say whatever he said. And so rather than go back and forth and debate him and argue with him, she just stops talking. And so she took that L in that second for the team to get that overall W. And so for a lot of us, like Chasman was saying, instant gratification. We look at relationships like cooking a Hot Pocket or cooking a burrito in the microwave.
Like you said last time, like you was like, most people are looking at the newly renovated home. They're not looking at the renovation aspect of it, or trying to help somebody to the point where if you're not together, like, why do you want a brand new house? Like,
and that's the thing. Like, you have to take the time to build the certain parts of the relationship, the foundation. Then after the foundation has been laid, then the walls come up. Then after the walls come up, then you do all the wiring and everything else that comes along with it. A lot of people aren't willing to do that work. Now, granted, the caveat to that is we are not, this isn't, you know, HG Network where we're just fixing people. You can't fix people. You know, it's not your job as a person when you come in a relationship to fix someone. You recognize that certain parts of them are broken or need to be repaired. You know, and that is where, as a partner, you point out things like, let's go to therapy together.
Right.
If this is something serious, this is something that you see yourself becoming a part of, and you recognize this person is hurt, they're broken, they're damaged, whatever synonym you want to use, it's your responsibility at that point, not to fix them, but to get them the resources they need to become the best version of themselves. So that's where the therapy comes in, so they can talk through, you know, I've had trust issues, because I've dated young ladies that were like that, where they had trust issues. And so for me, you know, I've always been rebellious, where you tell me I can't do something, I'm doing it. Just because you told me I can't do it. But I come into this relationship with this one young lady where she had trust issues. She had trust issues because her husband cheated. You know, so for me, I'm a very boring person because, again, I'm lazy. I don't like to do too much, which is why I can't cheat, because I would easily get caught, because I'm just not gonna put a lot of effort and time into it.
Look. RJ be where he say he's gonna be. That's one thing I'll be like, RJ, are you at the comic book store? Yeah, you know where I'm usually at this time. It's like, damn.
and that's what I'm saying. So, but for her, it was always I was calling you didn't answer the phone. But maybe I was asleep.
Like, I ain't about to be checked. Like, if you say you somewhere, you're there. Like, and if you're not, I pray God, you know, reveal that to me later on in the future, as Beyonce said on her song. Like, we ain't chasing. Like, what is wrong? To me, that's like respect. Like, if you say you somewhere and I'm calling you 50 million times, what are you doing? That's stalking.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I mean, where I was wrong though in the situation with her was I didn't try to not, I guess, heighten her anxiety about that I wasn't doing stuff I had no business doing, because I felt like I'm a grown man. Why do I got to explain to you where I'm at all the time? And it's, you know, and understanding and being in a relationship with her at that time, like, was it really going to kill me to turn my location on so she could see where I'm at?
Yes, it is.
Right.
You know, like, was it really going to kill me to, hey, I was at the comic book store, I apologize that I didn't answer your phone call, or at least, because like there were times where she would call and I would see that she's calling, but I'm in the middle of doing something, like I'm talking to one of my friends. I could have answered the phone and say, hey, yo, I'm with my homeboy right now. You can hear him talking. You can hear him talking in the background. I'm gonna call you back. But, for me, I'm just like, God dang, she calling. She's tripping about what I'm doing. And so me being petty instead of me being mature, I chose violence instead of choosing peace. And so for me as an adult and being mature about it now, I handle that inappropriately. And that's where, again, growth and maturity comes in, and recognizing like I added to her saga of hurt and trauma because in her mind, she's like, oh, my husband cheated. This dude was cheating because he was always acting funny. And it's like, bro, I'm like I said, I'm lazy. I do the same things. Even the city that I go in, I have a coworker that lives in the same city as me. And she's like, do you know where this place is? No, because I go to the same places all the time. I go to the Walmart. I go to my house. I go to the gym. I go to my house. I go to the track. I go to my house. I go to the comic book store. I go to my house. I go to my friend's house. I go to my house. I'm not really out in these streets like that because, again, I'm lazy. But also at the same time, again, being immature and being stupid in that relationship, I could have handled things differently. And that's where we have to at times stop and reassess. Whenever I have an interaction with somebody, whether it be good or bad, I constantly take notes. I do an after action review where what was supposed to happen, what actually did happen, sustains and improves to make sure that I'm not just up here messing up when I could have done better. Because a lot of us think that we're in a relationship with God's gift to the relationship and that I'm infallible and I'm always right. A lot of times, if we had to record our interactions with people and watch back how we responded and what we said, we're like, whoa, I'm a monster. Like, I have a problem here.
But look, I think sometimes, like, even as me, like, my internal voice is critical. Like, I am critical on myself about just everything. Like, if it's work, if it's personal situations, if it's relationships, it's got to be some reflection there because I'm like, well, as you said, I'm the problem. Like, I'm actually the problem. Like, and when you mature and you're grown enough, when you can see that you're like being toxic, like I can say a lot of times, like I was not present. So in future relationships, I know that I do need to be present. Like I wasn't emotionally present. So then it's like, are you listening to what I'm saying? No, I'm here, but I'm not here. So I'm just critical, like on myself, just because. Why wouldn't you be? I don't want to bring no chaos or no trauma into nobody else's life because that stuff come back on you and you be like, dang, I should have did different in the first place versus creating chaos in somebody else's life. As we say, karma, I ain't gonna say that. Like everything is reciprocal, and whatever you do, it comes right back.
Right. The type of energy you put out, Chaz, and I think that's what we're kind of discussing, because if my internal voice is telling me, hey, I'm not spending enough time, because I'm my own worst critic, right? So I can criticize myself internally, right? Because I know I'm not present in the relationship and I know I need to do better, but getting caught up in life, because, hey, time is expensive. You know what I'm saying? I only have really a certain amount of hours throughout the day to get stuff done. So I'm running here, running there. I know I need to spend time with this person. Well, how do I convey to them that they're still important, even though I did not have enough time for them that day? That's when we start talking about intimacy, being able to communicate your feelings to people, right? So usually I know I'm the problem if I can't spend enough time with that person and I can't give them what they want. I know for a fact eventually that's going to start to stress them out, right? So I'm bringing in a certain level of, drama in the relationship because I know that person needs time, but I can't give it to them. So that's when I think that's what you were kind of speaking at on that, Chaz. And that's where I have to really be mature and be like, hey, look, let me have a sit down with you. This week has been hectic. What can I do to rectify the situation? I do have a certain amount of time open for you, right? And then if it doesn't seem like my schedule fits their schedule, I got to be honest with people. That's a part of honesty. We're not cut out for each other. You're busy doing this. I'm busy doing that. But people don't want to have those conversations because they're difficult.
It's
I don't never want. Yeah, go ahead.
exactly. And for women, I think we have to do less talking and more listening. Like, we can't have a solution to everything, because if a man is telling you something, pretty much we know it's serious, because most of the time in the African American community, y'all know men ain't out here just exposing their emotions and
Telling their feelings.
exactly. So if you telling me that, I'm like, I need to be present. I need to be listening. Not, oh no, I don't have time to talk, or let me give you a solution to fix it. No, we need to actually have that sit down meeting and thinking about things like, I know my love language is acts of service. Like, I don't need you making my life more complicated than it already is. And if you're doing that, it's left. Go bye.
Well, I think that you guys both touched on it. Like, you have to, we will make time for the things that are important to us.
Right.
So you will purposively get up every day to get dressed, to drive, to go punch in on the time clock every day and do the work that you're supposed to do in order to earn a salary or a wage. So if this person is truly important to you, you put forth that same level of effort for them as well. And for it, the same way that you'll make time for work, you'll make time for church, you'll make time for hanging out with your homeboys, your homegirls, watching the game, playing the video game, going to shoot hoops. You got to make time for the person that you're with. Because again, the things that you're doing, my mom used to say this when I was a child, and I used to think she was crazy. What you do at home is what you do in the street. And that's so applicable to every facet of your life, because what you do in practice, what you'll do in the game. So if you practice wrong, you'll do it in the game wrong. And so a relationship, especially in the dating phase, that's practice for what you're going to do in a marriage. And if the person is practicing wrong, they're going to play wrong. Mm-hmm. And so, and if they're dating you wrong, they're going to be married to you wrong. If they've beaten on you or disrespecting you or ghosting you or ignoring you or talking to you crazy in the dating phase, just imagine what they're going to do when you get married. Y'all gonna be killing each other.
Same house together, and y'all stuck in the same house together, right?
Because at least with dating, you can go home, right? You can put them out, or you can go home. When you married to somebody, you stuck in the house with them. So where you gonna go? Go sit in the car? You gonna go in another room and close the door? No, you got to sit in the house with them. So to me, that's where, again, purposively dating, taking the time to figure out, is this the right person for the position I'm trying to fill? Because if not, this person gonna bring they mess, they drama, they chaos, they struggles, they strife, their headaches, whatever they got going on. Their baggage. Yeah. Baby mama, baby daddy drama. And that's where, like, when they're talking, when these alpha male, platforms are talking about don't date single moms because of X, Y, and Z. Again, some of what they're saying is very true. If I don't have any children. So for me, it's very important that when I'm engaging with a female that does have kids, before I ever meet those children, guess what I want to do? As a man, me and their father or fathers are going to sit down and have a conversation. Why? Because at the end of the day, my job is to be an addition, not a substitution. So being an addition means that we are on the same page, means that whatever you say, I say. That means that I'm going to add. I'm not trying to replace them. I'm not trying to take over. I'm not trying to remove them. I'm not trying to erase them, get them out of the picture. No, we are in this together. So again, me and this man gonna be on the same page. And so it won't be like, for me, I'm a huge animal person. Lions, when they take over a pride, the male lions that come in and take over a pride kill all the other cubs. Why? Because I'm not trying to have competition for my genetic material. So again, that's not this situation. We're human beings. And so we're meant to, as a village, it takes a village to raise a child. And the more people that can provide love, structure, attention for this child, the better. And so for me, both men and women who are listening to this, when you are engaging with someone who has children outside of your relationship or prior to your relationship, meet their parent. Because again, when you ask for a lot of people, because I went through this as a child when my dad got divorced from my mother and got remarried. Instead of my dad having my stepmom and my mom sit down and meet each other, there was automatic friction because, again, my mom felt some kind of way. And understandably so, because as a parent, you're territorial about what belongs to you.
course.
I'm territorial about what belongs to me, and I ain't even got no kids. So if something belongs to me, rather it be a child, rather it be my car, I'm going to be territorial about it. So I want to know that the people that are around my kid are not weirdos. They're not looking to do something to my kid.
No predators.
They're not predators, or they're not going to be filling my kid's head with nonsense and foolishness. But the only way that can happen is as the parent that is the connecting point. Rather that be me and the young lady that I'm dating, being the person to say, hey, I want to bring you guys together. Before I meet those children, I need to have a conversation with their father. Why? Because at the end of the day, I'm meant to be an addition, not a substitution. And right. I never want to be disrespectful to this man because he is their father. I never want to have beef or animosity between this man because, again, I would feel some type of way if someone came and did that to me. I try to give the energy I get in return, or that I expect in return, which is why I lead with respect, because I command it in return. I'm going to try to be respectful. Now, if you lead with disrespect, I'm going to give it back to you.
Right.
And I'm super disrespectful.
There's a lot of men who don't want to meet, somebody who's with their ex or baby mother and stuff like that. And I've been through that. I've been through that with my ex-wife. Her current fiance doesn't really like me because I grill my daughter. I ask her all sorts of questions. I ask my ex-wife a lot of questions, and he didn't like that. My mother asked a whole bunch of questions about the dude, and he got in his feelings. But to me, I don't care who you are. If you're dating a person with children, you really must get to know the family members that are associated with that child. And like RJ said, you're not supposed to be a substitution unless there's no dad around, right? And that's another topic we need to get to. And I do want to give you guys, I wanted to give this for the next topic, just talking about single parent households, right? I'm going to give you a statistic by race, right? There were this is 2022. This is from the U.S. Census Bureau, right? There were 6.6 million white non-Hispanic families with a single mother in 2019. There were 3.29 million Hispanic families with a single mother in 2019, and there was 4.14 million African American families with a single mother in 2019 from the U.S. Census Bureau. And for those who don't know our percentages, African Americans make up about 12% of the population, and Hispanics make up closer to 18% now, 16 to 18% now. So we know together that's 30%, right? And then, of course, there's also some other stuff. You got people who are biracial. You got other types of stuff that aren't recorded in statistics. We know statistics can lie. But if you think about that, 4.14 million, all right, single African-American women, and we only make up 12% of the population. That's scary. That's scary.
I mean, predominantly, the numbers show that that most of us come from single parent households led by some female family member, rather that be mom, aunt, grandma. There's not a lot of fathers being in the home. And I mean, again, for me as a man and a critical thinker, I want to know why the father isn't in the home. Why didn't you guys? Yeah. I'm asking those questions. And the reason I'm asking those questions is because, again, that, your past is a pretty good indicator of what your present or your future is going to be, because we are creatures of habit. We tend to do things that we've always done that are convenient for us, that have always worked for us. And because it didn't work here, I want to make sure I don't fall in the same traps and the same pitfalls that your past relationships fell into. When I start to see certain things that led you guys down the path of destruction, hey, we might need to address this now before it gets to the point where we're calling it quits. And so it's very important that you are taking the time to get to know the person that you're dating. As I was saying a little while ago, any person that you're dating, as a real man, I welcome that conversation. Yeah. I welcome that conversation. As a real woman, you should welcome that conversation. Because, again, you want to know who's around your kids, because there's a lot of weirdos out there. Right. There's a lot of weirdos out there who are out here touching kids and doing stuff, traumatizing children. And how will you know that someone that is around your kid, that you're trusting to be around your kid, is not doing that to your child?
Well, look at that whole Netflix series on the little boy in California. I forgot his last name. Was it Gonzalez? The little boy that DHR had that whole trial against them. When you look at that trial, because I had to actually watch it for a class I was doing back in the day, and I remember watching it, and all these social workers knew that the stepdad what had to be the perpetrator, who was leaving welts on this kid, marks on this kid, abusing this child, and they knew it. All right. But because they didn't want to pull him away from his biological mom, which he wasn't with in the original, he was with an uncle. He wasn't with her for a reason. Right. So we start to see that you can't trust everybody with your kids, especially people who aren't blood related. You can't. And if you don't want to meet, especially if you're the dad of these children and you don't want to meet your ex's new boyfriend or whatever you want to call it, or fiance or whatever, if you don't want to meet that person, you're doing an injustice to your child. That shows me how much you care about that child.
And
to me,
just in general,
because
it cause chaos and friction for you when you like, okay, well, he didn't want to meet this person, he didn't want to talk to him. They probably arguing every night about that whole situation.
Right.
Literally, like, why? I mean, I just can't understand. And for women too, like, we have to think about actually doing the work before you get married, get engaged, and get in these relationships, because what happens is that's why we have so many single women, I think. And just before probably like 2000, I don't think women were even on the same page with going in therapy and actually knowing about a lot of the resources that's out there as far as like single motherhood and actually addressing your issues from the past. Like systemically, as we say, slavery and all that other stuff kept everybody in the mindset of bondage. And then we have a lot of resources and people are making it acceptable to go seek therapy. Before it was like, girl, we ain't doing that. Did any one of y'all hear your mom say we're going to therapy?
Never.
No.
Exactly.
Well, I had to, because I was in school and I got in trouble when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? And they made me go to therapy, and it was a good experience for me. That's the reason why I work as a counselor now, probably because I had to spend so much time with social workers. So, but yeah, my family still does not respect therapy.
I mean, I definitely recommend, therapy, because again, I can't speak to something that I'm not willing to live myself,
right?
Because then that makes me a snake oil salesman, where I'm telling people, oh yeah, therapy's fine, but then I'm not doing the therapy.
But myself. You ain't doing it.
so I mean, and you see some people, they'll go to marriage counseling prior with the pastor that is going to officiate their wedding.
Right.
They'll do that. But my thing is, again, you need to have some therapy outside of that prior, while you're dating. Because again, most of us, we are survivors. We have survived combat in some way, shape, or form, regardless if that's spiritually, emotionally, physically, or physically, because we've lived life.
Right.
And having survived combat, deadly encounters with other people, that does something to you. Because some of us have been beat on, some of us have been, touched or, traumatized through some way, shape, or form. And so going from one relationship to the next relationship to the next relationship to the next relationship without sitting down to process those feelings, process those emotions, process what happened, process those thoughts that you're having. Guess what? You're setting yourself up for failure for any relationship that you have, because what happens is you bring those problems that you're still carrying with you into that relationship. And if that person is not truly, truly, truly for you, they're not going to understand that there's something not right. And so what'll happen is that relationship's going to end. Then you get another relationship, that relationship's going to end, and so on and so forth, until you find someone who's truly, truly cares about you and loves you for you. Because again, like I said at the start of the episode, a relationship is a leap of faith. And so when a person takes that leap of faith with you, they are acknowledging that whatever comes with you, I'm with you in that.
Right.
And so, and that's good, bad, whatever. At your worst, at your best, someone is truly there with you. And I mean, you can really tell And for ladies, I'm telling you, you can really tell if a man is really into you. If he with you and you ain't got no eyebrows on, you ain't got no makeup on, you ain't got no lashes on, you got your bonnet on, you got your headscarf on, your feet ashy. Like, if he is with you, regardless of that, any of those things, that dude is really with you. You know, and vice versa. When you with a woman and she's with you at your lowest, that's how you really tell. You can really tell who's really in your corner, because everybody talks the loyalty talk. You know, I'm ride or die until you ain't got nothing.
Until something happens, really right? Until something happens.
I mean, there's a battle rapper that said it best. He was like, you really want to know who's really there for you? Tell somebody you can't do something for them. He said everybody says that they're with you until you say you can't do something for them. He said then everybody ghosts. They get mad. They get in their feelings. And he was just like, he was being funny about it, but he was like, don't get mad at me. He said, because I believe that if God wanted you to have it, you'd have it. So don't get mad at me. He said, take that up with God. I would recommend it. Take it up with him. You know, so it's one of those things where for a lot of us, we get into these relationships, and again, it's transactional. I'm with you as long as it's convenient for me, as long as it's good for me, as long as it's gonna do something for me. I'm with you, and don't want to struggle, don't want to go through anything, because even these relationships where people have been married for 50, 60 years, if they're saying they never argued, they never had any problems, they're lying to you.
Right.
They just had the maturity to work through those problems together.
Right.
They had the maturity and the high frequency elevation to be willing to say, you know what, I gotta put my pride aside, suck this, hold this L and work through this with my partner, because that's what a partnership is. We're in it together, financially, any way that I possibly can be. I'm in this relationship with someone together. And so that means that when times get hard, I got to work through it with you. When you're not feeling well, I'm there with you. But for a lot of us, we don't do that. And because we don't do that, because we don't want to go through anything, we don't want to struggle, we give up on the relationship because it's no longer, it doesn't benefit me anymore.
It's invalid.
And so what happens is, because we do that, we teach that. And because we teach that, our children pick up on that. And so our children and every generation they're so after have those same ineffective, non-fruitful relationships, because of the fact that, hey, I saw my mommy and daddy do this. You know, being physically aggressive, being verbally aggressive, being emotionally aggressive, like just devaluing your partner because you saw your mommy and daddy do this. You think that's what a relationship is. He don't love me if he don't beat on me. Right. You know, he don't love me if he don't argue with me. She don't love me if she ain't keying my car up or busting out my windows.
Right.
That's jail time.
Right.
Yeah, I don't love nobody that much.
Me neither.
Well,
I'm sorry.
But the Lord. Get that right.
But the Lord.
Get that on you.
But the wonderful thing about this is that what we've discussed today, because we're running out of time, I want to make sure that we are giving people a little bits and pieces of some therapeutic knowledge. And what we discussed today about just dating for a purpose, especially at the latter end of the show, if you can start to apply some of these things, you'll see a difference in the relationship once you're stepping out there on faith to say, hey, I want to make sure this relationship is a longer lasting relationship. And I don't want to just do this short term. Talk about some of your goals. Talk about some of your emotional needs, some of your physical needs. Talk about those things. Those are difficult conversations. But if you can do that as a couple, man, to infinity and beyond for you. That's my closing statement. Definitely, Chaz and RJ, please put in your closing statements.
Do the work present. I think that we all just have to get to understand that we have to do the work before we come into somebody else's life in order to add, not devalue. You should be an asset wherever you go. And I always think about the quote, where the money resides, where the money resides. That's how you should feel. That's how you should be in a relationship. Your partner should be happy that they chose you. They should be happy that they're in your presence. It shouldn't be chaotic or just not wanting to be present. So my thing too is just being there for the person, good, bad, ugly, bonnet on, no lashes, because I'm natural half of the time. So, I mean,
half the time.
Half. Y'all Saturday without in normal. So, yeah. Right. RJ.
I think that for a lot of us, we have to understand that a relationship is work. And the same way you'll go to work to go earn a wage, you should be willing to put in that same amount of work to be able to have a fruitful, happy, and beneficial relationship. Because again, if it's not adding and multiplying in your life, it's subtracting and dividing from it. And we, as you know, Chasman was saying, you want to be a blessing to other people instead of being, you know, a storm or a hurricane to somebody. And if you're not a blessing, you are the storm, because a lot of us will talk about we need somebody that can handle us. And if you are one of those people that you need somebody that's going to be able to handle you, you're nobody's peace. You are just a storm. And so you are the problem. You have to take the hold the mirror up to yourself and say, I'm the problem. They weren't the problem. And for a lot of us, we're not willing to have that conversation with ourselves. But I think that in order to have a fruitful relationship, you got to be willing to put forth the work. In order to do anything and be successful at anything in life, you got to be willing to put forth the work, not just when it counts, but when it doesn't count at all. Right. So that's the end of this episode. If you like what you heard and you want to be a part of the conversations, we ask that you join the tribe, and we will catch you on the next episode.